Hi, and welcome to Our World of Wonders. I'm Michelle, and Charlotte's at work again today, so we're putting together our Sidbrook Hospital in Cobourg episode. The first photograph you're looking at is a postcard of the asylum. So I decided to give you just a little bit of history on Sidbrook. Before Sidbrook was a private hospital, it was one of Cobourg's famous summer homes with a lengthy history as a single-family residence. Kaivis Tully, I hope I'm saying that right, designed the house and was responsible for several of its transformations after its original construction in 1857 for Henry Mason. Mason sold the house to Major David Campbell in 1863, who lived there until his death in 1881. The house passed down to his adopted daughter and to her family until 1900, when it was sold to William L. Abbott, who kept it as a summer home. Sidbrook stayed in the Abbott family until the early 1950s, when it was sold once again in 1952 and transformed into a private hospital. The grounds had, in the beginning, 30 acres and stretched from King Street all the way to Lake Ontario, which was slowly severed off over the years, leaving only 3 acres of land with the estate. The hospital had 38 beds and 50 employees. At the time of its closure in 2002, it had 29 long-term patients who were relocated to facilities in the area. And according to this article that I was reading, written in 2012, the hospital was still up for sale. It did look like people had been trying to fix it up or restore it, but it's fallen into disrepair, as you will see. So this picture, you probably noticed in the picture before this and this one that the photographs are really quite blurry. Well, it took us not too long to figure out that when you're sitting in a car with the engine running, the photos tend to be blurry. We were sitting in the car with the engine running because it's private property. We knew we weren't supposed to be in there. We know of a different investigator. He drove in there. It was dark, though. It was at night. And the police followed him in and shooed him away. So we were kind of concerned about being in there, and we didn't want to get out and be walking around in full view of everyone, so we stayed in the car. And of course, you can see, totally wrong idea altogether. Don't take photographs from a running vehicle unless you absolutely have to. So in this next photograph, and you can see it's blurry again, but that's beside the point, between the shed and the corner of the building, sort of just off-center to the right, there's a very bright light. In this next photograph, and we always tell you take multiple photos. This was just seconds afterwards, and you can see there is nothing there. There's nothing reflecting light. There's no light popping between the trees. We can't state enough that it is so important. Now, if that light anomaly was in this next picture, then maybe it was reflecting off of something, but it's not. So, and this was just seconds afterwards. So the next picture is the crop of that little light. Very interesting. You note the little light itself is somewhat circular, possibly a little triangular shaped. But at the top of the photograph, the wisps of light that are coming between the leaves, because of the vibration of the car, it looks like they're moving, or it even looks like some kind of ectoplasmic wisps of something. It's just the light. So that makes me question, why is the bright light or the orb not doing the exact same thing? It should be causing light streaks across the screen exactly the same way that the light shining through the leaves is, and it is not. That is very interesting. So this is a third photo of that same area, and for some reason the photo is brighter. I didn't touch any of the dials. We didn't change, the settings. It was just one after the other. This was the first time that we noticed, like, this was a weird thing that happened. It doesn't happen very often, but we have on occasion had the cameras do light pictures for some reason and dark pictures all on the same setting. Uh, we have found out as time's gone on, like we've been doing this for a while now, that sometimes paranormal influences can cause unusual things in the camera to happen. Um, this has happened to both Charlotte and I at this location. She has one, at the time, she had this very large, completely different kind of camera than I had. I still had my small one, and occasionally the video recorder will do the same thing. So we have no explanation as to why three different types of cameras, and now Charlotte has another small one. So even four different types of cameras, four different makes of cameras can, at certain places, have this light and darkness happening. Very interesting. I mean, you can see how completely bright this photograph is compared to the other one. So another interesting thing that happened here. Now, this is my very interesting photograph. I was very excited when I got this, but it is also very difficult to see. I kept getting senses about this upper window on the far left-hand side of the building above the front entranceway porch. And I don't know how many pictures I took of this window. 3 or 4 at the very least, but I kept being drawn to that window. So I've done a close-up of the window. I was quite surprised, but it is so difficult to see. It's not as clear on the computer, so I have tried to film it so you can get a clearer look of the details, but the video recorder also has trouble focusing on the computer screen, so it's not the best recording, but it does help you to be able to see what I was seeing much clearer. But in the close-up, you can see the outline of what, in the bottom half of the window, what appears to be an older lady sort of looking down. So I'll let you see the video and see what you think. Okay, I'm going to try and video this picture. I've been having a really hard time getting the reason why we came back, the picture in this the window, the capture, possible capture. Every time I try to get, I'll try and get this centered so you can see. This is where you're looking, right here in this window. Now this seems to be a little clearer this time around. Very faint. It looks like there's someone standing right here. The head is here. There we go. It's the main reason why we came back. We wanted to come back. We were sure. This is a capture. To me, it looks like an older woman in a dress looking down. If I use the pencil, and hopefully you can see, you've got either a hairline or a hat line. Got an eye and an eye, very large nose, mouth, and you can just sort of see coming down there. You can see like the neckline is right here. I hope that this time you can actually see it. I'll bring it in closer, which will probably make it go a little more wonky, but hopefully you'll be able to see what I have been seeing in this photograph. But up this close, it almost looks like there's another face of possibly a man, very heavy eyelids, nose, chin, possible mustache here behind this person, and something very skeleton-like up here. I'll try and... oh, I'm losing it. You can see the triangle shape of what, with that line down, which could be like the nose, two very large eyes, and you sort of get the gist of a mouth. But right there, it's hard to say. In the pictures that we take, that we'll show you this year, there was an issue with these pillars, but this window is far, far above those pillars, which you'll be able to notice in some of the other pictures, well, and probably in this one as well, that I'm pretty sure that that is not a reflection of this pillar. The reflection would happen in this window, not up above, like there's a roof here. So that window would be guarded from getting a reflection from this pillar in there, which would be an easy way to explain, yeah, there's something in there. But that was the main reason why we wanted to go back here. What was in that window? What were we seeing? Were we seeing something, weren't we? I did douse, and it did say that there was an older woman in the window who was a patient. So that's why we wanted to go back, and that's why I did a healing in this area as well. So following our rule of taking lots of pictures, this is another shot of that same window, and I've blown up the window, and you can clearly see that it's just a window. Hard to say if there's something in there, like it does almost look like there could be a reflection or something, but you can see directly into the window, and it doesn't look anything like the picture that I took before. Same position, same angle, all of those things. So just another, okay, I guess we caught something in the other photograph. Okay, I've included this photograph for a really important reason. If you look near the top of the veranda, porch, whatever that entranceway is, the two windows that are directly beside that veranda or upper porch are very important for our 2014 photographs when we went back. You can see a reflection of the roof and something in that closer window. So that pillar is very important for our 2014 pictures, which is why I included it. And this next picture, this is the first time I believe that I had this happen, where I was taking photographs, everything's fine, and then this happened. Flash went off, the camera clicked like it had taken a photograph, and everything was black. This was the very first time that I had this happen, as best as I can recollect. So I just included that so that you can see, you know, there was no reason why this should have happened. It just did. So my son Fox has just been fidgeting around with the black photograph, and it is actually a photograph of that window where I've got that lady, picture of that lady. Very interesting. I didn't realize it was that window. So that in itself is amazing, because we got a capture in that window. We knew something weird was going on, and then something weird happened to the camera. I did douse for this photograph, and it did say that the figure in the window was a patient that was at the hospital. Other than that, I really don't have any other information other than that, but very, very interesting. Thank you, Fox, for that great find. So this photograph was back in the beginning when we were actually still inside the car, and I knew I was getting blurry pictures, so I put my arms onto the window frame of the car thinking that would steady my arms, and I took this cool picture. I mean, the orb is very plain, right dead center. And again, note that the orb itself is round and perfect. I'll show a crop in a second, but the background, you can see all the blur and the movement. So why is the orb perfectly round? It should have bumping around and light following it in a little trail. So there's the close-up, and you can see it's like a perfect shot of a little orb. Hard to say what's going on here. I haven't doused for this particular photograph, other than it isn't a patient at the hospital. It's somebody different, and that's all the information I got on this little photograph. This is a photo of the doorway. Now you'll notice on the wood panel to the left side of the door is a very bright small orb. This is directly after taking the last photograph, so I was curious if possibly the orb had gone like past the car and up onto the stairs. So I doubted and asked, is it the same orb? And it said no, that it was two different persons or entities. So it's not the same orb, just in the same general area. Note, in the center of the stairs, there's a very shiny, bright spot. And that's a piece of metal where it looks like someone had taken a saw or something and cut the railings down, and there's these little nubs of metal. If you look at the top of the step, there is like a little brown, dark brown shape, triangle or rectangle shape. That this is also part of that metal. So if you're ever on these stairs, be careful. These nubs are quite dangerous. And I've included one of Charlotte's photographs that, for whatever reason, went darker on hers than her other ones, and we're not quite sure why this dark and light thing was happening. In the bottom right window above the porch, this is the second porch at the end of the building, there's something below the wire that's hanging in front of the window. So here's another video. We're looking at this window, video close-up, because of course it's very difficult. There's a little something in this window. This is Charlotte's photograph. A lot of these photographs didn't turn out for reasons that I explained earlier, but there is something here. Is it a reflection or not? That is the question. It has face-like qualities to it. It's hard to say whether this is something caught or not. It does look like there's shoulders, looks like a head. Very difficult. When you zoom in, you totally lose it. So is it a reflection or not? That's one of those things that we just can't say, yes, it's something or not, but it is something interesting and another reason why we wanted to go back. In this photo of Charlotte's, it's bright and obviously taken outside of the car. We only took photographs from inside the car for so long before we realized nobody's coming around to see what we're doing, and it's safe enough to get out, and if anybody comes by, we'll feign, oh, we didn't know we shouldn't be here, because we thought the house was for sale. We were just taking a look. But anyway, I digress. This is probably the best photograph of the day, believe it or not. Now, if you look at the porch above the entranceway on the right-hand side, about a centimeter off from the column, you can see this beautiful, huge, bright orb, which is fantastic. And the more I started to check out this photograph, the more things I saw. There's an orb by the little fancy ornate window on the sort of bottom left-hand side. There's a very shiny, bright thing in the grass just over from the stairs and from that vine. So just to show you what all happened in this one photograph, and there's things in the windows upstairs too, which the more I looked, the more I found. I did a quick video to let you see what I was seeing. Now, I've included this photograph for many reasons, not just to prove that the little light capture that I had on this piece of wood, which isn't reflective at all. Charlotte had big flash, and the reflection, you can see her flash reflection on the paper, but nothing on here. So that means that orb I captured was real. And Charlotte, unbeknownst to all of us, right here, has a beautiful capture, but that's not the only capture she's got in this photograph. Very intriguing, right here. This orb, and I've checked in all of the other photographs, huge orb. This is not a paint anomaly or light reflection. This is a definite orb capture. You can see it without it being blown up. But There we go. Beautiful capture. Proving once again that you just never know what you're going to find. Here is that piece of wood. Here is something on the door that is reflecting. That's not an orb, but that's also not where I caught mine. Mine was directly here. Now, this particular window, we have some issues with when we returned and went back, but there is some sort of weird reflection-y thing going on there. We're not sure what that is. And I was looking at the windows, and you have to go through each window carefully, and this window drew my attention. Actually, so does this one. There does appear to be a face with either hat or weird, possibly even hunchbacked, or possibly a person behind looking. But you see, the problem with these windows at the time was it's just so hard. You're not getting a clear picture. This, to me, looks like one of those hatted shadow beings. I mean, huge hat. It's not the tree. The tree didn't look like this at this time of the year that we were here. Shadow beings, which a lot of people think are these evil, terrible things, are actually guardians that stand between you and negative energy. It would make complete sense that there would be guardians in a asylum or mental hospital, or however you want to word it. So, although it's not clear, very dark, you get the shape, you get an impression of a face, you definitely see the hat, but it's not plainly clear. Sometimes shadow beings are more like a black mist or smoke. Sometimes they actually have a physicalness to them. So very interesting. And was one of these other windows, I thought I had something else in them. A lot of these windows are now completely boarded over. So if you look in them, you're not going to see the same things that we were seeing. Oh, there we go. It's right here. If you look shoulder, arm coming down and bent back up, you can see a hand. The mouth is here. The nose, eyes. So I'll just go by with the pencil. Very thin, like a gaunt face. There is a line here that could also be a hat. It's hard to say, but you can definitely see the rounded part of the shoulder, the arm coming down. The hand looks like it's been folded up towards the person. So this picture that Charlotte took was loaded with things, and that's why you really need to have a computer and be very meticulous with going through every little thing. What is that? Well, there's something I didn't notice. Right here. I'll have to go back and look and see if there's anything in the grass that's reflecting, but there's another interesting little element to this photograph. Little unusual light of some sort. I'll go back and check some of the other photographs and see what I can find about that. There we go. I've gone back to this particular photograph that Charlotte took. It was a little bit darker. And this is the area where that little anomaly is. So I'm going to blow it up and bring it up so that the camera can see. Hopefully, there we go. Just tip it a little bit. There we go. So you can see that in this grass area, there is absolutely nothing. No pieces of paper, no plastic bottles, nothing that could be making that reflective light. Now here by this little vine or plant, there is a little wispy something. It could be possibly the stem of the plant itself, but absolutely nothing here that could be reflecting light in that very fairy looking way. So there we go. Another anomaly in that photograph. Charlotte took an amazing photograph. And those are all of the reasons why we wanted to go back just a few months ago. And we'll show you those photographs and what we found when we went back. So that was our first run at Sidbrook and all of the reasons why we wanted to go back. We're going to have 2 more episodes, Charlotte's photographs and my photographs, what we found. It's in a really state of disrepair right now, which is a real shame. But very interesting place, very interesting history. So from our World of Wonders, we'd like to thank you for watching and stay tuned for more episodes.